right now, the Democrats don't want to prosecute the illegal aliens in our country who worked with the cartels to cross the border, controlled entirely by the cartels. The Democrats want to prosecute you. Hillary Clinton, the once and future Democrat candidate, the eternal Democrat candidate for president, she has called for a criminal prosecution of people who promote Republican propaganda.
I think it's important to indict the Russians, just as Mueller indicted a lot of Russians who were engaged in direct election interference and boosting Trump back in 2016. But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrent.
Be a much better deterrent if any time people said anything that Hillary Clinton doesn't like, they were at the very least brought up on a civil matter. You know, it cost them a lot of money, but probably they should be criminally prosecuted too. Because, you see, if we don't prosecute and imprison Hillary Clinton's political enemies for disagreeing with her, why then we might lose our sacred democracy. Then our sacred Constitution would be shredded if we allow Republicans to say what they think. Notice how she tries to blur two totally separate issues. She says Russians who are interfering in our political process should be prosecuted. Okay. And Americans who perhaps agree with them or perhaps say things that they don't even say but are just kind of adjacent to what they say, or really if they just Americans say things I don't like, they should be prosecuted too. Well, hold on. Russia could buy a bunch of political ads. Not that Russia's had much effect at all in politics. You remember back in 2016 when we were told the Russians interfered in that election, handed it to Trump. What did they do? They spent something like $100,000 on Facebook ads. That's nothing. Daily Wire has spent $100,000 on Facebook ads in like a matter of hours at probably not recently, but at various points in our history. That's true not just of Daily Wire. That's true of like any media company. New York Times, NBC. How much? The New York Times has spent way more money promoting things like the 1619 Project. Give me $100,000 in Facebook ads. This is nothing for a media company. So, okay, well, yeah, they were interfering. What about recently? Supposedly, the Russians had bought off this group, Tenet Media, which had a handful of conservative commentators on it. Okay, Tenet Media, in its 9 months of existence, got something like 16 million views on YouTube, which 16 million sounds like a big number. When you consider that the Russians allegedly paid $10 million for 16 million views, and it was spread out among multiple commentators, that is nothing, guys. I mean, that is the Russians not making an even slight dent into American politics. And by the way, the content that was put out by that company that was allegedly a Russian front was content that was already being produced before the Russians got involved at all. So Hillary's taking this problem that sounds like a big problem and that in principle would be a big problem, and then uses that to say that's why Americans need to be prosecuted. So let's say Russia ran an ad on Facebook and it said, America should stop funding the war in Ukraine. Right? That is a position that Vladimir Putin holds, for sure. It's a position that many people in the world hold, maybe most people in the world hold, but Vladimir Putin's one of them. So it says America should stop funding the war in Ukraine. There are Americans who are patriots, who don't have any particular affection for Russia, who don't know anything about Vladimir Putin, who don't, good old tough Americans who just think we shouldn't be fighting this war, that this war is not a good war to fight. It's not in the American interest. It's not going to really lead to any strategic advantage, probably even for the Ukrainians. It's just going to lead to a lot more people dying. And actually, maybe it might undermine American national security. There are plenty of smart, patriotic Americans who believe that. Well, according to Hillary Clinton, those people should be prosecuted. If Vladimir Putin he runs a Facebook ad, says, water is good, you should drink water. And then some American says, I like water. Water is good. I enjoy water. Well, listen, that guy was spreading propaganda. He was agreeing with Vladimir Putin. But really, of course, what this is all about is just censoring the political opponents of the left. These people really don't like you. That was a good clip, folks. Now you got to stop, ring the bell, subscribe to the Michael Knowles YouTube channel, and we will see you next time.